So being you've been around motorsports for a while, and we were talking about fitting, being comfortable, etc. Do you have any stories that translate from basically your part of motorsport, your racing stuff?
Well, most of my experience is always vintage racing.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't know exactly what vintage car racing is, but vintage cars is the quick story is what happens when the race car is no longer competitive. Okay, so then typically racing has really evolved. Like I grew up in the 80s and 90s, but then it would either go to SCCA and you would do SCCA club racing, or you would go to vintage racing because otherwise the car has no home.
Yeah.
So that my background is vintage.
Vintage.
Racing. Yeah, since '92 I've been doing vintage racing. So I traveled all over the country with vintage racing and stuff. But I've had a few times I worked on a pro team.
Okay.
Very, very, small parts.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to work the 25 hours at Thunder Hill.
Okay. That was a bucket list working deal?
I always wanted to work at least a 24-hour race. Just because, being around the sport, that's like the one thing you really want to accomplish. So the 25 hours is actually the longest race, and it's in Norcal, and I'm close by. I'm in Nevada, so I work for this team.
Now, were you able to stay awake during that whole 25 hours?
No, I went and napped in the semi part of the night. But I did stay up quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of coffee.
A lot of coffee. Yeah. Okay. So 2 days later, you were crap.
The fuel guy, who was my friend, poor guy, because he barely got any rest. Because the car could come in any time, and then they always got to top it off on fuel. Yeah. It's a 25-hour race.
True.
That job sucks.
So you made it to the 25-hour of Thunder Hill as a pit crew guy.
I was a pit crew guy.
So were you like the window washer or something?
Driver. I drove one of the high-priced 18-wheelers. And that's a lot of responsibility.
Oh, absolutely.
Like people don't realize. That's like $1 million. At least $1 million going down the road.
Yeah.
And don't scratch it.
Don't scratch it. Don't be late.
And you got to know where everything is on the truck.
Yeah.
Then you get to the pit and all the mechanics are coming over you. Where's this? Where's my,
Oh, so you're kind of like a parts manager / truck driver.
You're everything.
Cook?
You got to know.
Do you do the cooking?
I would run and go get the food. I'm a horrible cook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can cook burgers, but I'm pretty good at taking orders.
Yeah.
So I'm a picky eater, so I was a good guy to meticulously write everything down. Yeah. Because I think you're starting to see that in me. That I am pretty thought process.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just coming out to the track today, you sent me an email. Hey, these are what we're doing tomorrow. Yeah. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Because the one thing like me, I cannot have cheese on my burger. And if I gave that job to somebody else, they would always come back with a cheeseburger.
So do you order as a cheeseburger without the cheese or just a hamburger?
Well, I always say a hamburger, but why do people always put cheese on a hamburger? It's a hamburger. It's not a cheeseburger.
I want a hamburger. Would you like cheese on that?
But they are.
If I wanted cheese, I would have said cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Come on. Don't give me that. Come on, let's go. We gotta have turnover. We want a cheeseburger. Come on, everybody got a cheeseburger. You want a cheeseburger? Come on, cheeseburger. I don't want a cheeseburger. It's too early for a cheeseburger. Too early for a cheeseburger? Look. Cheeseburger.
So I, just for selfish reasons, usually assume that role.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure I get my food right.
I would like a cheeseburger, hold the cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was very good at that because I'd come back to the pit crew and, you're dealing sometimes pit crews, drivers. You're talking like 30 people.
Yeah.
And, you got to get it right.
I agree and I disagree. I do agree with you. You need to get it right. But then there's some people that are just too picky. It's like,
we're going to get on another tangent, too, that I learned being on the teams.
Yes.
And one of the guys, because I'd seen this happen a few times to the same guy. Yeah. Because he was always head deep into the car, and I'd be like, hey, your food's here. And he was just, he didn't want to stop because he's like, my thought process is, I have to respect that. Like, the guy is working, doesn't want to stop.
Absolutely.
Then he comes back and all the food's gone. So
Yeah.
he pulled me aside one day and he said, listen, just always bring extra food. And I said, you know what? That's a good rule of thumb. Because you got 30 guys. What does it hurt to bring an extra 4 burgers?
Out of 30, out of 30 guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And believe me, 4 burgers is nothing compared to what they're spending with tires. And,
Yeah, no, I worked under Gary Carlton's tent for a number of races, and that was when he was first starting up. It's like the food would come and all the different groups, usually based on the class.
Yeah.
Right? So he comes to the table, and all right, and I like my food, so I need to be fed to perform well, and so I'm going through all the food, and it's like I always notice Gary never ate.
Yeah.
So finally, I would just like make him a sandwich and walk it over. It's like, dude, you need to eat. Like, I'm not trying to be overbearing here, but you're like go from 6 a.m. to 10 o'clock at night. You need to eat. Like, you can't sustain. So yeah, there's guys like that. They get their head in there, and I'm the opposite. I'm the guy that's like working on something. Like, oh, is that pizza? All right. Lunch is here.
Yeah.
But okay, so we got a little bit diverted there on that. But so we were talking about 24-hour Thunderhill. You were talking about that was
your
and
you
you always wanted to work Button Hill or Thunderhill.
I was always usually hired on as the logistics guy, but then at the track, I'm in charge of many different responsibilities, but I could fill in different jobs. Like, hey, we don't have a fire extinguisher guy, or assistant fueler, or this job or that job. Tires, which I really hated. I mean, it was a good workout, I'll tell you, but I mean, that's a tough job.
Oh, it's amazing how, like, just in all aspects where they're changing tires.
Yeah.
How coordinated and fast, and they make the tires look like they're 3 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah. So this one weekend, they had nobody that wanted to do the belts. Because they had 4 different drivers. There's 4 different. Well, we had 4 different drivers.
So the driver belts, the strap-ins.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the car comes in.
Yep.
We have 4 different drivers. We had, I believe it was 2 pros, 2 amateurs. Or I don't know if amateur is the right word, but
Not pros.
Not pros.
Yeah.
And they're all different sizes. I mean, a couple guys were really big.
Okay.
So at the vintage races, I belted in hundreds of vintage racers.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a whole tent full of guys, and I would go and strap them all in. But
Yep.
it's vintage racing. There's no. So I'm like, that's right up my alley. I'll do that job. So I go there. We're gonna rehearse a few things, and I'm rehearsing, and I'm taking my time, and I'm being meticulous. Because
there's seatbelts.
There's seatbelts.
Yeah.
And it's safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
The team manager, the crew chief, owner, he goes, what are you doing? I'm like, putting the belt. He's like, no, dude, you can do that in like 3 seconds. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So I tried it, and then I thought I had it. I really did. I mean, I thought I had it. And so then the race starts, and, now you add the pressure of the race and the whole thing, and racing is
the pit stop makes the difference.
Yeah. So I got one shot in the race, and I got fired.
You got one shot, and you got fired.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was too slow.
So, but now you know why no one else wanted that job.
Yeah.
I would think I would be like you. Like, I'm getting fired because I'm gonna be too slow. Because there's safety.
Yeah.
Right? If something happens, you want to make sure the belts.
I'll have to tell you, the pro guys, though, they got it down pat.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys come in, they know.
Yeah. Or they're probably driving with their knee, coming in with their knee, and then undoing it, and then halfway out of the car.
And if you watch, like, the early days of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, that's why they stopped that. They used to run in and get down the road and then finally belt themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
1969 was to be a historical year for the 24 Hours, the last ever Le Mans-style start, highlighted by Jackie Ickx walking to his Ford GT40. In the end,
they'd be halfway down the track before they had their seatbelts on.
See, and that's what non-racers don't understand about racers. Like, in life, like, that's just how they're wired.
Yeah.
Like, the motto, it's not cheating unless you're caught, right?
Yeah.
It's like you find any advantage. It's like, oh, I'm gonna jump in and drive off, and then hopefully I get my belts on
Yeah.
before I go too fast. And it's like, and how many racers do we know that are just so carefree? It's like, yeah, I just want to be fast.
But that was another thing that I learned about the pro racing was when you were really good at something, like a good tire guy, it's amazing. They'll fly this guy in from Canada because he's one of the best tire guys. And even the seatbelt seems like an easy job. It was like, because the taller guys, like they would come in and the first thing I would have to do is make sure that all the belts were loose.
Yeah.
So they had a starting point. So, I mean, it's crazy.
But you got 3 seconds.
I might be exaggerating, but it was not a lot of time.
These belts can protect your life.
Yeah.
You got 3 seconds.
Yeah. So I got fired.
Got fired. Back to the lunch run.
Yeah.
Jason Berry here with Norcal Karters. If you're enjoying any of our videos and you want to be updated, take a quick moment, hit like and subscribe. And this will help us keep more content coming to you.